Welcome to A-League Access, Richard Garcia. I want to start off by just asking you about last season, your first season as head coach of Perth Glory, and had a bit of an up and down season. They finished 9th. Just want to ask, what positives did you take away from the season, and what things did you think needed to be looked at as key points to fix for this season moving forward?
Definitely there were a lot of positives out of the season. The group grew in stature, especially with the hurdles they had to overcome with being away from home and playing so many games on the bounce. And so you know that there's a good group there and there's a good core there when they're overcoming those challenges and still pushing themselves even when they're fatigued. So that was fantastic to see. It was fantastic to see a lot of those guys play different roles in certain ways, and especially some of the senior guys that actually push themselves beyond what they normally would in sacrifice to the team. So that's fantastic to see, and what it does is it actually makes those younger guys realise how much effort it takes to play at the top level. So that was a real positive. We were very good going forward in patches, especially when we were fresh and firing. But defensively, we needed to improve. So that's something that we've made a conscious effort to try and improve this season. We don't want to lose that attacking prowess that we've got, and we've got a lot of attacking weapons that we want to continue to grow with and make sure that they keep getting on that front foot. But we want to make sure that we are sound defensively, not only the defence, but the whole squad.
Richard, speaking of attacking and the forward line, I'm so excited as a Liverpool supporter. The recruiting coup of the century. Daniel Sturridge, who was the mastermind behind that move? It's unbelievable for Perth Glory and for the A-League.
It is a fantastic signing for the A-League, and especially for the club. Look, it was a conversation between Terry McFlynn and myself one evening, just sort of, late at night, thinking, who can we get in? And Terry just started to have a look around, and he brought up a few names, and Daniel was one of those names. And look, I think a lot of people would have been afraid to even go there, or even think that he'd have the inkling of coming to Australia. But Terry did a lot of homework and rang around and did a fantastic job of convincing Daniel that this is the place for him. And then after speaking to Terry, Daniel spoke to myself and spoke about football and the way we saw him fitting in. And after that, I think, he was sold on the idea. So, look, Terry McFlynn's done a fantastic job just getting the initial interest and actually getting us to a point where he's ready to come. So, look, for us, it's a fantastic addition to a good squad. We're waiting for him to get into the country and do his quarantine and then join the squad. But it'll be a fantastic addition to our strike force.
Obviously, your powers of persuasion are very strong, Richard.
Look, Daniel's, from all the conversations we had, he's a very humble guy. He's very much about the team, very much about being one player in a cohesive team, and that's something that we are trying to build here at Perth Glory. We're trying to build that team mentality and not a superstar mentality. We want guys that are going to come in and play their part, and we win together and we lose together mentality. So that's something that we were very keen to get across to all the players that came in this year. And I think at the moment we have that mentality of those guys coming in where they do want to play their role and be part of the group.
I think you just answered my question, because I was going to ask about how do you sort of fit him in, because, a lot of clubs that bring in these big name players, it's all about the player and, they adjust their play so that, the ball's always, I go on about Juventus bringing Cristiano Ronaldo because that drove me crazy, that everything was directed at him. But you've just talked about, building the team is cohesive and not having that superstar mentality. Is that something that you've already spoken to Daniel about, or is this something that you'll bring up once he starts training with you, or how is it all working so far?
Look, we didn't actually have to bring that up with Daniel. You know, I told him about the direction that we were heading, and he was very quick to say that he was in the same mindset, that, you know, he wanted to come to Australia and play his best football and help the guys around him to be better, and help the team to be better and be successful. So straight away from the off, I think, you know, our mentality of what we saw as a team and what we saw as a club going forward really aligned. So it made it a very easy conversation to have. And Daniel now has got the opportunity to come here and really help the team, but also, you know, promote the fact that he's such a fantastic player.
Well, Richard, you're winning definitely a great player. On the other end, there is one big player leaving Perth Glory, which is Diego Castro. So is it true that because Diego waited too long to make his decision and then didn't come back to stay with Perth, that actually then gave the opportunity to get Daniel Sturridge in?
Look, it was something that, you know, with Daniel, it happened very quickly, and we'd been negotiating with Diego for quite a while. And I don't know if it was Diego waiting too long, but I think we sort of hit a brick wall in negotiations. And, you know, we were still very keen to bring Diego on board. But Daniel sort of came out of the blue, and it sort of happened very, very quickly. And in the end, it became almost, you know, we sort of need to go for Daniel. You know, it's sort of a signing that you probably can't pass on. The fact it becomes very, very hard when it just means that you're letting probably one of the best players that's not only played in the A-League, but definitely one of the best players to play for Perth Glory, if not the best player to play for Perth Glory in their whole history. You know, it's a difficult decision to make, and not something that you want to do. You know, me having such a close relationship with Diego, it was a very hard conversation, and Diego was very good with it all. You know, of course, he was disappointed, and, you know, obviously we were disappointed not to be able to have Diego at the club. But, you know, it's one of those things that we want to continually evolve the football club and make sure that the club is heading in the right direction. And we feel that Daniel is going to be a big part of that, not only this season, but hopefully in seasons to come.
That would be great. And from the very experienced players to the young, hopeful ones, so Trent Osler and Daniel Walsh, you have now added two 19-year-old players who played for Australia at the Under-19 World Cup in 2019. What's your expectations on them?
Look, those two young guys have been injured the last year. They're coming back from injury. They've got bright futures ahead of them, but they've still got to build their way back into full football. They've got to build their way back into becoming fully fledged members of the squad. We've had a lot of young players come through last year, which has been fantastic to see, not only on a personal point of view, but as a club as a whole. We want to see our young players come through the system. And not only WA boys, we want to see a lot of young players come through Perth Glory. We see it as there's a lot of untapped talent out there, and we want to make sure that we get that talent into these doors and keep it here. And the biggest thing for us is that we see some of that talent be WA talent. We feel like WA has always had a great history of good players, and we feel that this can be the platform for them to then springboard off, not only be A-League players, but hopefully one day be international players as well.
Richard, I'm sure you've heard the announcement about the A-League selling a stake of the competition to an American company, Silver Lake. What will this do for the sport in Australia?
I think it's probably a move in the right direction, and probably some much needed investment into the league. I'm sure the owners are happy with the decision and the way it's gone down. So look, I think the league seems to be pushing in the right direction, and everyone is willing it to go in the right direction. Only time will tell how we go in the next few years and how far we can actually push the game in this country. You know, I think it's something that we continually talk about and continually want to grow. but we actually need to see a little bit more and make sure that things happen in the right way. And you know, hopefully this is the first steps on that ladder.
From the A-League to the FFA Cup, you probably expected that question in terms of the FFA Cup game against Melbourne Victory. So to my knowledge, it hasn't been scheduled yet, but it looks like now it's going to go ahead in Melbourne instead of having the home advantage in Perth. Do you agree with that decision? Should that game go ahead, or should it be forfeited by Melbourne Victory?
That's a loaded gun question, but I'll take it. No, look, you know, it's our home game, and that for us is the most important thing. You know, it's very hard to fathom that we would have to play away from home. We understand the situation of borders and things like that, but I think it's been since, I can't remember what the last round was, July 8th, I think it was, or something like that, when we knew that the game needed to be played. So that's a long time between now and then that the game could have been organised. You know, it could have been done in so many different ways. It's about the willingness to actually go out and do those things and explore those opportunities. In the end, look, I don't know how much that really does anyone any good playing it in Melbourne. But, you know, that's something that, look, it's something hard to comment, because if I say too much, I'm generally going to get in trouble. I'm generally going to get in trouble if I say too much. But at the other end, you know, it's hard not to say a lot, because we feel
it
very
happened
passionate.
before. The final at the FFA Cup final between Melbourne and Perth Glory was in Melbourne, and I know a lot of Melbourne Victory supporters were a little bit annoyed for Perth. They did feel sympathy, even though we did win on the day. They did win on the day, sorry. There was a bit of sympathy that it was moved. So, do you think borders are going to play?
I was captain of Perth Glory that day. I was captain that year, and I couldn't actually believe what I was hearing in 2015 when they told us it was our home game and we actually were in the away dressing room and everything. So, you know, it's all about that little saying, the West versus the rest. That used to be our hashtag, and sometimes it does feel like that. Look, we understand that the situation that the FFA Cup is in at the moment with the borders and everything like that, it is a difficult one. We just feel there's been a lot of time to be able to resolve the issue, and it hasn't been resolved.
Richard, does it upset your preparations at all? Is it a burden that you don't need at this stage of the pre-season, or will you just take it in your stride and deal with the cards as they fall?
Look, we're going to have to. I think it's difficult to. We're sliding in a game in an already difficult schedule. You know, we've got 5 games away. We're away for a total of 30 days. You know, I don't think anyone else is being asked that of their players and of their football staff and of their clubs. It's a very difficult situation. You know, we keep getting the answer that Wellington are doing the same, but it's not quite the same, because if they'd moved us and our families over to Melbourne and actually had a plan for us and actually put us in a place in Melbourne with our family and things like that, and made it a base for 2 months and told us we were going to play away from home, it might have been a different scenario altogether. There's a big difference between living out of a hotel and living out of a suitcase than being comfortable in an apartment with your family and having a training base and having everything comfortable, rather than being in a hotel for 30 days. So, look, it's already a difficult trip coming up, but I feel that the boys are willing to go through that, and the boys are really hungry to play. There's a good mindset within the group, and a very, very strong mentally group. The group is very strong mentally, so I'm very, very eager to see the way the boys do over there, and I'm very confident in what they can produce away from home. So, look, it's something that is going to be a tough one, but I feel that we are prepared as a group, especially with the guys that have been through it last year, and even us as a coaching staff and as a club, knowing the difficulties last year, how we can manage things better this time and differently this time, to help the guys feel more at home and feel more comfortable.
Final question from me. It's great to see a lot of the ex-Socceroos joining the A-League as coaches, yourself, John Aloisi, Popovic and Steve Corica, who I forgot last time. Do you think that ex-players should be getting more involved with the clubs? Should the clubs be contacting them and tapping into their knowledge and their expertise and being part of the game? Or is that really just up to the players, the ex-players themselves to get involved? Or should they be drawn in, do you think?
Look, I think throughout football, we've always thought about that, and it's sort of in the last few years we've tried to maybe go back to what the older guys' experiences are and why they were so good and why the league was good back then and things like that. I'm sure the guys that have been around the block have got good knowledge within the game. Again, it's about the right person for the right role, and that becomes another issue altogether. I feel that probably as footballers, we need to diversify a little bit more so that there are roles not only in the coaching space, but in other spaces where players can actually get involved with clubs, from whether it be a media side or even a marketing side. There's so many roles within a football club that ex-players would be so passionate about taking up. So it's not only about the clubs, it's also about the players diversifying their skills and becoming better and all round once they leave football to be able to, join the workforce and, hopefully that can be within a football club.
Richard Garcia, it's been a pleasure speaking to you tonight, and wish you all the best for the upcoming season with Perth Glory, and all the best on the road too. It's going to be a tough first couple of weeks, so enjoy.
Thanks very much. Look, we're looking forward to the start of the season. It's been a long off season, so we're very much looking forward to the.
We are all looking forward to the season.
Definitely, and thanks for those loaded questions as well. That were nice to answer.
You're welcome.
Good on you, Richard. You handled them very, very well. You're very adept.
Thanks very much.
Thank you,
Richard.